At a time of deep division in today's society, we must come together for humanity's sake. On Can We Talk 360, we strive to stimulate an authentic conversation on issues that affect all of us in an environment of tolerance. I am Eugene Pettis, attorney and community servant. Let's discover how there is strength in our differences and an abundance of possibilities when we stand together as one humanity. Welcome to Can We Talk 360 Motivational Moments. I believe that God sends angels to guide his children. I've had so many moments in my life that through the slightest of touch by someone upon my life, I've been redirected toward my divine purpose. Perhaps my most notable was how I got to the University of Florida. I was the youngest of 7 children, and all of my siblings went to HBCUs. So I interviewed to HBCUs around the country, and I decided to go to Bethune-Cookman College in Daytona, as it was known at that point in time. It was less than 6 weeks before I graduated from high school that I met a gentleman at my girlfriend's house who spoke to me about why I didn't want to accept the scholarship at the University of Florida. And I told him that it was not enough black students. And he asked me, how many black students do you need? And I told him I didn't know. And he said, there are 1,800 black students at UF. And I remember thinking, that's more black folks than I know. He said, what else? I said, the campus is too big. And he indicated, every day you're on the campus, it gets smaller and smaller. I remember going home that evening and saying, Mom, I want to go to the University of Florida. And on that following Monday, I went to my guidance counselor and said, I want to go to the University of Florida. He said, let me check and see if the scholarship is still available. And later that day, he called and said, it's available. Over the next few days, I decided that I was going sight unseen to University of Florida, which I did on June 9th, 1978. There's no doubt in my mind that gentleman who spoke to me was one of God's angels. The conversation was less than 2 minutes, and I've never seen him again, and it had such an impact on my life's journey and trajectory. I've tried to allow God to use me for the betterment of others. On March 21st, just a few days ago, I had a full circle moment. I had lunch with Charlie Scott and Ricky Armand, 2 young civil trial lawyers. I had seen them at the Broward County Bar Association's Black History Month celebration, and we took a picture together, and they followed up and asked, could we have lunch? As always, I give of my time to help mentor other young lawyers because so many people took the time to touch my life. At the end of our 2-hour lunch, Ricky started to tell me that the first time he had met me was at Martin County Bar Association while I was Florida Bar president. And I stopped him and asked, were you the young man standing against the wall? And he immediately said yes. And I told him that I've mentioned that occasion on so many times since 2014. When I arrived to speak at the Bar Association, the room was crowded with many people intermingling with each other. But I noticed a young African-American man standing alone against the wall. I approached him and introduced myself and asked his name and why was he standing alone. And he indicated to me that he didn't know anyone, and this was the first time he came to a Bar Association lunch meeting. I told him he made the important first step of attending, but it was important that he get engaged and start meeting people. I challenged him. Before you leave here today, I want you to have met 5 people and gotten 5 business cards. When I got up to speak, I introduced him to the entire audience and asked him to stand up. And I asked the attendees to embrace him as he subsequently reached out for their guidance. I think Ricky was surprised when I remembered the interaction so clearly. But the greatest surprise was when he pulled out a follow-up email memorializing our meeting. The irony was that our recent lunch was exactly 10 years to the day, March 21st, 2014. When he handed that email to me, it brought chills to my body of how our lives had come full circle so magically, or perhaps better put, through divine intervention. The email was headed young, shy lawyer from MCBA, that's Martin County Bar Association luncheon, March 21st, 2014. And he went on in that email to express how he came to that luncheon to hear me speak as the first African American president of the Florida Bar. And while he had hopes of speaking to me, he said he had kept his hopes down because he knew I was going to be too busy to speak to him personally. And he thanked me for proving him wrong, of coming up to him and touching and reaching out to him and encouraging him. There's an old black spiritual entitled, "If I Can Help Somebody." The first verse is, "If I can help somebody as I pass along, if I can cheer somebody with a word or a song, if I can show somebody he's traveling wrong, then my living shall not be in vain." It's encounters like I had with Charlie and Ricky that I know that my living has not been in vain. Winston Churchill is quoted as saying, "We make a living by what we get, but we make a life by what we give." I encourage each of you to give of yourself so that your living will not be in vain. Thank you so much for joining me for this motivational moment.
The law firm of Halitzer, Pettison Schwam is a proud sponsor of the Can We Talk 360 podcast. Our firm handles medical malpractice, wrongful death, catastrophic personal injury litigation. We pride ourselves in being advocates for justice on behalf of those who have been seriously injured. For decades, we've taken the lead in making your case our priority. It's who we are. It's who we'll always be. Halitzer, Pettison Schwam. Serious injuries, proven results.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of Can We Talk 360. I sincerely hope that you were inspired to seize this moment in time and take real action towards change. Remember, all change begins with a conversation. Be sure to tune in every month for more fascinating discussions and motivational food for the soul. Please share with your friends, family, and colleagues. Follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Can We Talk 360, and visit us on the web at www.canwetalk360.com.